All right, let me get my lighting together. And eventually, when I can actually get my camera set up, get that SD card I've been looking for, I can actually start using my action camera more. But right now, we'll make do. We're just gonna do a short video talking about the rear foot pivot specifically. In the context, this is something that I've had students ask me about in the past and recently. And I'm making this video and I'm releasing it after the shadow boxing sequence that I taught. I'm releasing it after this video because if you notice in that sequence, I don't worry about hooks and uppercuts. And there's a very simple reason why. That's not what that sequence is meant to taught. That sequence is really meant to teach you all the linear strikes outside of the round kicks, really. But with the hooks and the uppercuts, this is when you're going to find more effective training using like heavy bag work, more shadow boxing, obviously. You always want to shadow box. Never neglect your shadow boxing, seriously. It's free. It's, low impact, and it's one of the easiest tools to get better, so don't neglect that. Other than that, though, I do want to do a video about pad work eventually, but I'm not going to elaborate too much on that. I'll have to get to that when I can get to that. But for this video right now, first, let me make sure you can see my legs. Okay, you can see my legs. So I'm here. When I mean the rear foot pivot, what I'm talking about specifically is this. So if I'm in liberation martial arts, this is called an L stance. If I'm in an L stance right here, which is literally my leg is in the shape of an L, I'm right here. If I'm trying to learn how to do my hooks and my pivots and generating power, something that I like to show people is this. Without even throwing any punches, bring your hands behind your back right here. And you can do this in both stances. All you're doing is you want to treat your hips like lasers, or not your hips, but specifically your rear hip, that back hip, whatever stance you're in. You want that back hip to be like a laser. And when you do that, what ends up happening is, for example, I want to point towards this wall over here. I turn, and then if I need to retract, all I need to do is just come back and pivot back. If I'm moving around, I'm doing the same thing. Boom, boom. I'm right here. Boom, boom. Moving around. Boom, boom. And then, what I like to teach people, I always teach people to switch stances. Not because I expect everybody to be a stance switcher, but just because I don't want anybody getting overuse injuries like I've gotten from being in the same stance for too long. And also, it's just common to get in martial arts. So switching stances is good for the brain. Here comes my dog. Don't knock down my camera stand. Good job. She didn't knock down my camera stand. Yes, she is. Hello. I know. Let me regain my thoughts. Make sure you go over there. Thank you, baby. Anyways, back to what was I saying? Stance switching. So, stance switching. With stance switching, the only reason... Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. The only reason I really teach people how to stance switch is just for symmetry. Obviously our bodies are not symmetrical. That's not what I'm trying to imply, but just so you can even out the body parts that you're working out. This is still a workout. When you're doing this stuff, you still exercise. So you want to keep that in mind. So I switch stances, but the same things apply. Let me move so you can see my feet. I'm here. I turn and pivot. And another good cue that you can use is using your shoulder as the guide. And again, your hip and your shoulder should be aligned. Boom. 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 When it comes to any punching, and particularly when you were talking about hooks, any type of hook, I did uppercut that time. Any type of hook, uppercut, any type of punch where you need to really use elastic energy or really get some torque, you need to learn how to pivot in the most economic manner. And if you notice, what happens when I learn how to do that, I'm only pivoting with my rear leg. Here she comes again. Hello, my love. She's so cute. But she gotta get out the video. I'm trying not to make this video so long. You gotta get out the video. You're so cute. Oh. Over there. Stay over there. Anyways. I'm here. I'm in my stance. If I end up throwing punches, I'm here. What that ends up looking like is this. Look at this back leg. Alright, people are like, okay, what about that's just boxing? Well, what about, let's do Muay Thai then. Let's apply the same concept with Muay Thai. This is why I'm showing this. Muay Thai. Don't let me kick you. And then, so we did boxing, we did Muay Thai. Let's do MMA. I don't have anybody taking me down or anything, and I'm not the best at MMA, so it's alright. I'm here. So as you can see, that rear pivot can translate into any type of striking that you do. It's not necessarily about the techniques. It's about the fact that you are now able to generate power for the majority of your punches without ever having to compromise your balance. That's why I advocate for the rear pivot more so than, the training wheels. Don't worry about all that. You don't got to do all that. Because that's not what you're going to do when you spar. You're not going to do that when you spar. You're not going to do that when you fight. Because the second that you start trying to, you're not going to hit anything, And this is speaking from somebody who's, from personal experience, somebody who's fucking lost a lot of fights from having bad boxing, from not committing to strikes, not sitting down on my punches. So I'm not saying this, I'm not even saying this because I'm the shit. I'm saying this because I'm trying to help out other people not have to deal with the nonsense that I had to deal with, because I honestly should have learned a lot of this from day one, to be real with you. So hopefully you got something out of this, and hopefully this helps out your hooks, your uppercuts, and your striking in general. And particularly if you're like a kickboxer, Muay Thai fighter, Muay Lao fighter, Kun Khmer fighter, I hope this helps you out and you can integrate this in your style. And if you still start doing that, man, share some videos of this, because it's important to kind of collapse more of these arts and stop trying to reinvent the wheel. The internet is a big place. There's plenty of room for plenty of techniques, and we need to make sure that the people who are trying to learn these techniques, the people who are trying to learn, the beginners, the mass of people doing this, even if they're never going to fight professionally, it doesn't matter. They can still learn good technique ASAP. They don't have to, cut through the noise sometimes. Just cut through the noise sometimes. All right. Well, hope you got something out of that, y'all. Take care.